Okay, some questions now using decimals. All right, and it require a little bit of confidence in how to use decimals and what they mean. Well, let's look at this first question. Add 0.5 of 50p to 0.4 of £1. Well, let's have a look first at what 0.5 means, and we're going to do a quick review of place value. So, okay, we know what the ones column and the tens column and the hundreds column are like. And then we've got this, if we move in this direction here, okay, going that way, we're going to get to the decimal point, and these are the part numbers, the fractions on this side. All right, so what is in this column? If these are ones, these are tenths, and I'm actually going to represent it like this. Okay, so if you imagine that if you had a 1 in this column, all right, if you broke this 1 into 10 equal size pieces and put one of them in here, that would be the value of that there. Okay, that's 1/10 of 1. All right, so these are tenths in this column. Okay, so let's have a look at what does 0.5 mean. That means I have no, right, so this is the 0.5, I have no ones, and 0.5 I have 5 tenths. Okay, 5 tenths. What else does this look like to us? Well, if we simplify it, if we divide both top and bottom, I can see that both top and bottom are divisible by 5. So if we divide 5 by 5 and if we divide 10 by 5, we are going to get, so 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2. That's the same value. So 5 tenths is the same value as 1/2. Okay, and we should know this off by heart, that 0.5 is equal to 1/2. All right, so if we replace this 0.5 and say add 1/2 of 50p, well, what's 1/2 of 50p? Okay, well, that's 1/2 of 50p is 25p. Okay, so 1/2 of 50p is 25p. And then it's saying, so to 0.4 of £1. Well, what's 0.4? So 0.4, well, it's 0.4, it's 0.4, that's 4 tenths. So 0.4 equals 4 tenths. Okay, now we've got a little clue here. We've said if 0.5, okay, what's 0.5 of £1? 0.5, if 0.5 is 1/2, 0.5 equals 1/2. What's a half of £1? Well, that equals 50 pence, because £1 is 100 pence. Half of 100 pence is 50 pence. Okay, and do you recognise, because pounds are in hundredths, so £1, okay, £1 is equal to 100 pence. Okay, so we can imagine that every penny, okay, every penny would be in this, we could represent in this hundredth column here. Okay, so if we had, if that was, that would be 50 hundredths, and what would 0.4 be? Well, that would be 40 hundredths. So 0.4 of £1 is 40 pence. Okay, so we have 25p add to 40p, and that gives us a grand total of 65p. Okay, right, now we're asked, I'm going to actually rub most of this out. Okay, what are we asked next? We're asked to subtract 0.5 of an hour. I'll keep that bit just in case it's handy. We're asked 0.5 of an hour from, subtract 0.5 of an hour, which is half an hour, okay, from 0.7 of an hour and write the answer in minutes. Okay, right, this is a multi-step problem. First, we need to know what 0.5 of an hour is. Well, if we knew how to do this bit, we already know that that means half. What's half of an hour? We want our answer in minutes. So 0.5 of an hour, okay, is 30 minutes. All right, because 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay, so that's easy. So we could work that one out quite easily. And we're asked to subtract that from 0.7 of an hour. Now, this isn't quite, it doesn't jump out at you quite as easily as some of the other questions might, because let's think of an hour and think of minutes. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Okay, that's one whole. If here I want to have 0.7, what's 0.7? That means 0.7 is 7/10, isn't it? Okay, so this 7 is in the tenths column, 7/10. I want 7/10 of 1 hour. Right, to work out what 7/10 of an hour is, I really want to know what 1/10 of an hour is. So what's 1/10 of an hour? And an hour is 60 minutes. So I have to divide the 60 minutes by 10. Okay, so this is, imagine if I divided my 1 hour, which has 60 minutes in it, if I divided it by 10, that would tell me how much 1/10 is. So that's 60 divided by 10 is 6. So that's going to give me 6 minutes. All right, so 6 minutes equals 1/10. Okay. So if I know that 1/10 is 6 minutes, then 7/10 must be 6 times 7, okay, which is equal to 42 minutes. Okay, so what have we got here? So this bit is 42 minutes. And what's this bit? Well, this bit is 30 minutes. And we're asked to subtract the 30 minutes from the 42 minutes, and that will leave us with 12 minutes. Okay? All right. Of course, you can pause this at any point to have a look. That's going to be the easiest way to do that. I'm going to write that back in, and I'm going to write that back in. Okay. Right, the next thing I'm asked to do, write in hours 0.75 of a day. All right. Okay, this is another decimal that you ought to know by heart, that 0.75, which is, if we go back to our place value, all right, so we've got tenths, we've got hundredths, 0.75 means 7/10 and 5 hundredths, otherwise known, you could write it as 75 hundredths. But another way of, if we simplified this, we would get 3/4. Okay, and this is something you really need to know off by heart, that 0.75 is the same as 3/4. So we're being asked to write in hours what is 3/4 of a day. Okay, so the next question is, we know what this means. What's 3/4? What is a day, and what is a day in hours? Because our answer is in hours. So really we need to know how many hours are there in a day, and we should know that there are 24 hours in one day. And so we're being asked what is 3/4 of 24. Okay, so what's 3/4 of 24? Now the easiest way to do that is to think, well, what's 1/4? What's 1/4 of 24? Okay, so if I divide 24 by 4, I get 6. All right, so 1/4 of 24 equals 6. Okay, and I want 3/4, so if I multiply the 6 by 3, I will get 18. Okay, which is then 3/4 of 24. So my final answer is 18 hours. All right, and they've written the H here already. Okay, right. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question says, take 12p from 6.62 of £1. Now, having done this question up here, I'm hoping that maybe this one might seem a little bit easier now. It says take 12p from 0.62 of £1. Let's do this. 0.62 of £1. That means 6/10 of a pound plus 2/100ths of a pound, otherwise known as 62/100ths of a pound. So we want 62/100ths of a pound. Well, what do we know about a pound? Well, a pound, remember earlier, 1 pound is equal to 100 pennies. All right, so it's very easy to split it into hundredths here. Okay, so if 1 penny is, so 1 penny is 1/100th, okay, of a pound. Okay, so if 1 penny is 1/100th of a pound, what is 62/100ths? Well, that's 62 pennies, 62p. So you're being asked to take 12p away from 62p. Okay, so we've got 62 take away 12, which you ought to be able to do in your head, but I'm just writing down for you. So 2 take away 2 is 0, 6 take away 1 is 5. That leaves us with 50p. Okay, right, let's have a look at this last question, and it's what is 0.7 of 70 kilometers? Okay, so again, I probably shouldn't have, so all right, so what's 0.7 of 70 kilometers? So we want 7/10 of 70 kilometers. Okay, well, if we want 7/10 of 70 kilometers, it would help us to know what 1/10 of, what's 1/10 of 70 kilometers. Okay, well, if I divide the 70 by 10, I get 7. So 1/10 equals 7 kilometers. All right, 1/10 equals 7 kilometers. I want to know what 7/10 is, so I have to multiply 7 times 7, which gives me 49 kilometers. Okay, and then I can just fill that in here, 49 kilometers. Okay, I hope that helps.